Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show here on KDWN, 720 AM, 101.5 FM in Las Vegas. Getting you ready for the last and final week of the regular season of the NFL, Week 18. Joining me today is my co-host from Bally Sports Southeast. He covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets, Dustin Pfeiffer. Welcome to the show, Dustin.
Hey, Gene, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Now, I know off the air I had wished you a Happy New Year, but I want to take the time to say Happy New Year.
Absolutely, man. Happy New Year to you and all of our listeners out there. Hopefully, we can make this a lot better year and have some good things going.
Yeah, I know, man. I tell you, it's just I can't believe that. For those of us who complained that man, 17 game season is going to be too long, and now we like, man, really, it's the last game of the season.
Yeah, it's the last game of the year, and playoffs are getting ready to go. So this is getting really to the fun point where it's all these teams. I mean, especially this year with it being this wide open, these playoffs are going to be something else.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too because all 16 games are divisional contests in Week 18, and there are still 18 teams in contention for a trip to Super Bowl 56, which is ridiculous. The Mean Gene Show is brought to you by Presidential Limousine by Captain. It's the official limousine service of the Mean Gene Show. There's absolutely no way you can experience Las Vegas until you ride in a Presidential Limousine by Captain. If you're coming to Vegas, make your reservations now by calling 702-438-5466, or you can text them at 702-410-6057. They will respond to you right away. The show is also brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Experience the award-winning soul of Motown. It's a high-energy concert-style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends. This is a must-see show during your Las Vegas vacation getaway. For reservations, call 888-796-3564. So, all right, we're recording the show on a Friday, and I have to mention that because there are two Saturday games that we are going to talk about later. We will make our predictions on those games. And then, of course, we got 14 games on Sunday. So, Dustin, check this out. 6 division titles have been secured, 3 of which feature a team that did not win their division in 2020. In the AFC North, that's the Cincinnati Bengals. The NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, and the NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Does that surprise you at all?
No, it doesn't surprise me just because of how much uncertainty we see every year with teams stepping up and then taking a step back. There's been a lot of teams where we thought they were the cream of the crop and then they fall down. So after seeing how this year started with the Chiefs dropping off but then picking it back up, we all know there was so not a lot of surprises to me with how things have kind of ended out here towards the year.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And then speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, also clinched a postseason berth this year after finishing last place in their division last season. So now they're currently on I think it's a 4-game win streak, which is quite amazing. Now over in the NFC West, that's coming down to the Arizona Cardinals or the Los Angeles Rams, and it's also guaranteed to have a new winner in 2021 in that division, while the AFC East could have a new winner if the New England Patriots clinch the division this weekend, Dustin.
Yeah, those are two divisions we've been watching closely. Obviously, me and you, we've been very high on the Cardinals and the Rams, so it's kind of been going back and forth. And huge win for the Cardinals last week. They needed it after sliding, for a few games. But the Rams also, they haven't been playing their greatest, but they've been finding a way to win. So I expect the Rams to probably hold on to that division, but both of those teams can be dangerous at the playoffs if they're playing their best.
Yeah, I agree, man. I tell you, and we are going to jump into this stuff now. Quickly looking at the playoff scenarios here now. I know some of them get complicated. Let's just look at the AFC real quick because we got five of the 7 have already clinched, right? So you got the Bengals, the Chiefs, Titans, Bills, and Patriots, okay? But now with the Baltimore Ravens now, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win, of course, plus they're going to need the Chargers to lose. And you know how it gets complicated. They need the Chargers to lose, and they need Indy to lose, and they need Miami to lose. So Baltimore really got themselves in a jam.
Yeah, it's a big jam for them, and we don't even know if Lamar Jackson's going to play. He's been dealing with that ankle injury. I think it's pretty much a wrap for them. You're looking at Indianapolis, looking at Las Vegas. those teams. We're even looking at, some teams still trying to squeak in like your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
But, we know they need some help too. So a lot of situations on the table. But, man, what you mentioned, that Colts and Raiders game is going to be a huge game this weekend.
Yeah, it definitely will. And speaking of the Steelers, 8-7-1, they had Baltimore, who's 8-8 on Sunday. And now Pittsburgh can clinch a playoff berth with a win, plus they need an Indy loss, and they are going to need that Las Vegas and the Chargers game if it doesn't end in a tie, which, man, it's just I hate to see when it gets complicated, but these are outside teams looking in, of course, who really have to, first of all, win, take care of business, and then see how things go. But, Dustin, as we have watched football over the years, all of these complicated scenarios, sometimes they come through.
Sometimes they do come through, and you talk about Indy needing Indy needing to lose to Jacksonville for some other teams to get in for Pittsburgh, and it sounds like it couldn't happen with Jacksonville. But how many times have we seen that last week of the year where there's a huge upset and it squeaks somebody into the playoffs?
Yeah, it happens. So I mean, that's why we talk about it, because it's likely to happen here. So
now, what is that situation? And you may not know off the top of your head, but I've read some stuff around the league where it could come down to where if the Raiders and the Raiders and the Chargers tie, that they both could get in. So there was a situation where people were asking why not both teams just take knees all game to make sure they get into the playoffs.
Oh my goodness! No, I have now that one I have not heard of that, and that would be
it's some crazy situation where if the Colts were to lose and kind of knock them out to the Jaguars or something, that the Chargers and the Raiders could, if they tie the game, they both end up getting in instead of one team. And so,
that would
of
be
course,
crazy.
you have fans around the league asking, "Hey, if you're both teams trying to get in, why not just take knees?
Just take a knee and yeah." That is just absolutely crazy. And then that probably explains that statement there, as long as that one game doesn't end in a tie. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Crazy what's going on right now.
Well, I tell you what here, we're going to try to get to this show without any hitches, folks, because I have been under the weather and, man, didn't know if we were going to put this off today, but I'm glad to be here with my buddy Dustin here. And we're going to go ahead and jump on the Saturday games here. Okay, now these games will be played by the time you hear this show, so we got to make our best predictions on what's going to happen here. Let's start with the Chiefs and the Broncos here. Now the Chiefs, of course, they have clinched the AFC West for the 6th consecutive season, and the Broncos, they lose Teddy Bridgewater, but they got Drew Lock. And Dustin, who wins this game? I mean, does the Chiefs set their players?
I don't think they can sit their players because they're still trying to go for that number one seed in the AFC, and that loss to the Bengals last week in that very high scoring game against Joe Burrow, it gave the number one seed right back to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've got a lot to play for in this last week. So I expect their team to be full go for the players that aren't healthy, and they're looking to get a win. And hopefully maybe the Titans get a loss so they can somehow get that number one seed, because as we mentioned before, that number one seed is the only team that gets a bye in the playoffs these days. So it's huge. So they'll definitely be playing for everything on the line and hoping they can somehow get that number one seed. So with all that being said, I would expect them to come out and handle business. I know it's on the road. It's a tough rivalry game. But, Drew Lock hasn't showed us a whole lot. And even though the Chiefs lost that game last week, that was a great game against Cincinnati. And I expect them to keep rolling and get a win to close out the regular season.
Yeah, I like the Chiefs in this game as well, even though they, because nobody wants to go into the playoffs with a losing streak. They had a nice long winning streak there prior to that game last Sunday. But I would think that Andy Reid and his guys, like you just said, they're looking at the big prize there of trying to secure home field advantage throughout the playoffs, which is huge. All right, the next Saturday game is going to be the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles we talked about on that 4-game win streak. Eagles has played some great football in the last month here. They beat the Washington football team last week, 2016. Cowboys lose to the Arizona Cardinals 25-22. So they really wanted to win that game. So this is going to be your night game on Saturday. So who you like, Dustin?
Here's the situation, kind of just what you talked about, Gene, and it's going to be what we talk about throughout the picking these games this week is what do teams do who have already clinched? I mean, you're talking about Dallas and Philly both having a playoff. Dallas really is going to be stuck in that 4 or 5 seed regardless. So nothing's
Mm-hmm.
really going to change for them. So they don't have a ton to play for. But like you said, you don't want to go into the playoffs on a losing streak. And if they lose this
No.
game, it's back-to-back losses. So what do they do? And now they have a huge COVID issue. Tyron Smith, a bunch of their defensive players have been added to the COVID list. So now, Dak's kind of been banged up with the quad. So do you play these guys to try to get some momentum, or do you rest them? And in my eyes, this is one situation where, like, I know you don't want to go on a losing streak, but I'm resting Dak Prescott on Sunday. I'm not taking a chance of him getting hurt, especially with the left tackle out due to COVID, against the Eagles defense, who's been pretty good. And that's going to be a physical division game. So I'm going to sit him. And the Eagles are actually kind of playing to move up a seed or two here with this last wild card spot. So I'm going to take the Eagles to get a win. I'm not sure what Dallas and Mike McCarthy will end up doing. I know you want to have your guys ready and some momentum, but, if something happens and they play Dak without their left tackle and he gets hurt right before the playoffs, Mike McCarthy is never going to hear the end of it. So I think you should play it safe. And I think the Eagles have been playing better here lately and playing at home. We'll get a win to close out the regular season.
I agree with you, Dustin, and because the Cowboys don't have anything to prove. They can only move so far up that as far as the seeding goes. But they've already clinched the NFC East, first time they've done that since 2018. So they're okay. I don't think anyone's going to really look at it like, okay, well, they dropped 2 in a row. Well, if they set their starters, then we know why, and it makes sense. And then it makes sense for the Eagles to want to try to jockey for positions too. So I like the Eagles in this game as well. The next game we have is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens have an interesting stat line. They have lost 5 straight games, which is and no one's calling for John Harbaugh's head, which we're not hearing it yet. But that could change Sunday, Dustin, if they lose this game to the Steelers.
Yeah, it definitely could. I don't see him necessarily going anywhere. If we go back and look at the start of the year, Gene, the Baltimore Ravens have probably been one of the top 3 teams in the league who have been ravaged with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at the start, they lose basically all of their running backs.
That's true.
Then you have to deal with COVID throughout the season. Now Lamar's been banged up for a few weeks. We saw him on the practice field a couple weeks ago, and he could barely walk. So it's another interesting situation here. I like talking about these because what do you do if you're Baltimore? You have an outside chance, and when we say outside chance, it's very slim that you're going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So do you try to run a banged up Lamar out there when you haven't paid him yet and he's your franchise quarterback going forward for that slim chance? Or are you holding him out so you have to make sure it doesn't get more serious and he has off-season surgery or something like that? So there's a lot on the line for them. I think Harbaugh's safe with everything they've had going on. He had them going even with the injury, so I think he knows how to run his team and they can bounce back next year. But I just think it's over for them this year and they need to be safe. I know you never want to give up on a hope of a playoff spot, but that's your franchise guy and you got to protect him. So I would start Hundley, and honestly, he's not a bad option as a backup.
Right.
He'll still give you a chance to win the game against a Pittsburgh offense that doesn't score a lot. So that's the direction I would go in. And honestly, even if Hundley starts, I'm gonna take the Ravens in a rivalry game at home to pull off the upset over the Steelers. I don't know if it's an upset; it's kind of an evenly matched game, but I would take them to get a win because even though Pittsburgh won last week, it was kind of the same old football that didn't show me a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see Big Ben go out with the win and Mike Tomlin preserve his winning record streak of winning seasons. They're still not going to do any damage. So I think the Ravens can get a win here.
Yeah, I looked at this game too now, and I'm thinking, just like what you said with Lamar Jackson, I would not play him against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. No. If he's banged up, then Lord knows what position he's going to be in after that game against the Steelers defense. When you got T.J. Watt sitting there looking at breaking Michael Strahan's sack record, which could probably happen in this game this week, but. I'm still on the. Come on, I'm a Steelers fan, so
you're gonna go ahead.
And look here, but hey, I wasn't pleased with the Monday night win, at Cleveland, and because it just, man, what was wrong with players catching the freaking ball? I've never seen so many drop passes in a Monday night game or in a football game in my life. It was just horrible. I expected Big Ben. I just thought they would catch everything he would throw at them, but that didn't happen. So this is a rivalry game. I do agree that either team here make the playoffs or not, chances of them going far is going to be slim. But I think the Steelers. We're still in that Big Ben farewell tour, and
I know we got a lot of games to pick, but give me your quick thoughts on the atmosphere Monday night, what you saw, kind of knowing that's going to be his last game, and what he's brought to the Steelers over all these years.
Man, well, first of all, I wish I was there, and I came close to getting there. I mean, man, it's just here I am, 57 years old, so what? I was 41 when Ben became our quarterback. So when you look at those years, that's a lot of years. Yeah, that's a lot of years of going with this guy. Won us the Super Bowl there in this second season. And you knew he was going to be there for a while. He was going to be there forever. But, man, when you get to the end of the road like this, man, it is so bittersweet and it's emotional. You could see and that scene of him and his family walking down the tunnel to the locker room, man, that's going to be a memory right there.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I was it ended up working out, but I was a little disappointed in Najee Harris that he didn't go down to score the touchdown, because I was wanting, I'm not a Steelers fan, but I was wanting them to give that send-off to Big Ben. But it worked out. They were able to get the ball back and him take that final knee. But good to see him go out on a high note, and it's good to see that he kind of knows it's the right time. You can see by the play that it's time for him to walk away, and at least he's not trying to stretch it out, and he knows it's the right time. So it's a good send-off, and like you said, they're still trying to fight for it. So maybe they'll go out with a win with them on Sunday. But I'm still gonna side with the Ravens on this one.
Okay, all right. The next game we have here is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals 10-6 at the Cleveland Browns 7-9. Baker Mayfield will not be playing in this game. Case Keenum will be your starting quarterback. And I just kind of like what the Bengals are doing. They took care of business last week there, beating Kansas City. They knew they had to beat them. And they're on a nice little streak as well, Dustin. So I like the Bengals to get this win. And they are your AFC North champs.
I'm going to tell you what, Gene. Real quick on the Browns. I mean, we kind of knew this was going to happen with Baker sitting out being banged up, but that's an off-season topic we're going to have to talk about. What do the Browns do with Baker Mayfield? Because, he's up for that contract. I think they can do the fifth-year option, so maybe he gets one more year. But, I mean, I know he's been banged up, but the year he had was not what the Browns expected.
No.
So it's going to be a lot of off-season talk there. But you said you like what the Bengals doing. I love what the Bengals are doing.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is already a top 5, if not top 3 combination in this league. And you got a rookie receiver and a second-year quarterback who's coming off of an ACL injury. And Joe Burrow, he not only does he have the tools and the arm, but he's got the swag. And I just love what they're building. Everybody, was saying draft a left tackle, and they probably should have, but they knew what Chase was, and they knew the connection that him and Burrow had. And it was unbelievable to watch last week against Kansas City. And so I'm telling you right now, that's a team that nobody's going to want to play in those AFC playoffs, because when you have a combination like that, they can score it at any time. And so you got to be careful with that. So I like what they're doing. I'm not sure how much they'll play their starters this week or what they're fighting for in the seeding, but I still think they can get a win even if they only play their starters a little bit, because the Browns are just kind of done. I'll take the Bengals, and I'll take the Bengals as one of the teams I will put on my list to possibly make a deep run in these playoffs.
Ooh, yeah, I agree with you, man. I tell you, you're talking about comeback player of the year, and Joe Burrow, and man, the connection there, good coaching there with Zach Taylor. Man, they have turned things around there in the AFC North. The next game we have is the Packers at the Lions.
Now, I assume you were taking the Bengals on that.
Oh, yeah, I am taking the Bengals, yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Sure.
The Packers and the Lions. Now, I wrote in my notes here, I would take the Lions only if the Packers set their players, which I think they might. I know they're on a 5-game win streak. They've already clinched and everything, and they got the number 1 seed, so why would they even, risk? So this is why I would pick the Lions to win.
Well, you would think they wouldn't play their players, but Aaron's talking like he's going to play, and maybe it's because they don't want to do the whole not play this week plus a bye week. Then you're talking 2 or 3 weeks off from football. But I'll tell you what, even if they don't play Aaron Rodgers and they play Jordan Love, as much as the Lions have fought this year, it seems like they've kind of ran out of steam. So
yeah,
I'm gonna take the Packers to get a win over the Lions, regardless of who they have playing at quarterback.
All right, the next game we have, and this is going to be an important one, believe it or not, the Titans at the Texans. Now, the Texans, a very scary team of late. Me and my son watched them beat the Chargers in an upset. Didn't see that one coming. and big upset win over the Chargers a couple of weeks ago. And this is a division game, and the Texans don't have anything to play for, and they could just really complicate things for the Titans. I'm going to go with the Titans, but, man, I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans, beat them.
I know. I mean, where is this came from with them playing some good football here recently? And you talk about not knowing about that Chargers upset. I'm going to fully admit that I was a survivor pool that was down to 5 people, and I had the Chargers, and that knocked me out of my pool when the Texans upset them. So I was not expecting that. But there's just too much for the Titans to play for. If they win this game, after everything that's happened this year with losing Derrick Henry, all this AFC from teams going from first to last to what it may be, the Titans are going to be your number 1 seed in the AFC if they win this game. Right. So they know what they're playing for. And don't look now, Gene, but I don't know if it's this week. I think it'll probably be for the playoffs, but Derrick Henry is ready to go, or it sounds like he's back practicing. Whoa. And he's going to be ready for a playoff run. And as you know, with Derrick Henry, that's a different football team. So if they get the number 1 seed and get a bye and get Derrick Henry back, they're going to have it all ready for them and set up in the playoffs to make a run. So I think the Titans win and lock up that number 1 seed.
Yeah, I agree with you because, like you just said, they can clinch the AFC number 1 seed and only first round bye and home field advantage. Man, that's what you want. That is what you want. And of course, Tennessee is one of those 2 teams that I said would be the most surprising teams of the year. And here they are.
You did, and they are. And they had their slumps and some stuff here and there. But like I said, Mike Vrabel's done a good job of keeping them together. And again, if you can get Derrick Henry back, it completely changes the outlook of that football team.
All right, so we both like the Titans in this one. The next one we have is the Colts. We got 2 more here before the break. Colts versus Jaguars here. And I got the Colts winning this game here, but it's going to be interesting. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, this is one where,
excuse me.
Like crazy things can happen, but I just don't see how it can happen. We're talking about a Jaguars team who lost 50-10 last week to the Patriots. And I know teams are bad in the NFL, but even when you don't see teams losing by 4 and giving up 50 points. So what it is that it's been, hopefully they can get another coach in and get some stability in that franchise. So, and you talk about pressure, you were talking about John Harbaugh earlier, that I'm telling you right now, Gene, I'm going to say this on the air. The guy with the most pressure in the entire NFL on Sunday is Carson Wentz, because you do not go out here. Everybody's talking about you being a franchise guy, the Colts trade for you. And if you go out with a playoff spot on the line and all you have to do is win your game and you lose to a team like the Jaguars, you're never going to hear the end of it. And there's going to be a lot of talk about what you are as a quarterback. So I don't see that happening. What they need to do is they need to pound the ball with Jonathan Taylor and then have Carson Wentz make a play here and there. So I think they can get that done with that defense and get in and get into the playoffs.
And I'm with you on that. I do have the Colts winning this game. Dustin, I just agree with everything you said there. They know what's on the line. They got to get it done. And last game here before the break, we got the Bears and the Vikings, 2 teams that are really going nowhere. But I don't think the Vikings – no, I think the Vikings have been eliminated. They should have been anyway.
Yeah, I believe they are.
So I got the Bears winning this game.
Oh, you got the Bears. I'm going to take the Vikings at home to end the season with a win. But, yeah, I think it will be a close game, but I'll take the Vikings.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this first segment of the Mean Gene Show. We'll come back with our second half picks. You are listening to the Mean Gene Show right here on KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM, Las Vegas. And we are back, folks. Once again, you are listening to the Mean Gene Show here on KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM. Week 18 of the National Football League, all 17 games all 16 games. 2 games will be played on Saturday, and you got 14 will be played on Sunday. So, but this is it. This is it. Everything is done. The season has come and gone just that quick now. By the time me and my co-host Dustin Pfeiffer, who's joining me from Valley Sports Southeast, Dustin, by the time everything is done and said with this weekend, we're going to be talking playoffs next week.
Yeah, we're gonna be getting into it, and it's gonna be. I think every game, like we've talked about, is just gonna be so intriguing to talk about and break down, because I really don't know if there's gonna be a team in these playoffs that doesn't have a chance to win at least a game or make a run. I mean, because you're looking at divisional teams like Tampa Bay who are going to be banged up going against some of these wild card teams, and so there's gonna be a lot to talk about, and I think we could see more upsets than we normally do in these playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like what we said at the top of the hour in the first segment. 18 teams still in contention for a trip to Super Bowl 56 there at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. And normally, the last week of football, man, is almost kind of like the preseason. No one is really paying attention, but that's not the case this week.
No, it's not. I mean, this is one where there's still a lot to play for, a lot to get answered here in this last week of the season, and with so many games, like you said, in this 18th week, I think this is what the NFL was kind of setting up for, to have this extra week to really have a lot of stuff on the line as far as seedings, as far as playoff chances. So there's a lot to play for, and even for teams that are already in, there's a lot to play for, because like you said, a lot of that goes into the playoffs. It's not just about your seeding; it's about what kind of football you're playing going in, and that's going to be big.
We should have some cameras posted up around the NFL headquarters in New York to see when the Brink trucks drive up there.
That's
because
exactly right.
Because they are definitely racking in some money.
They are taking it in, and they, you know what, they're still probably trying to find more ways.
Oh, I'm sure
to rake even more, and so they're one of the leagues that just do not stop, and regardless of if they're the number one league as far as being watched, which they are, they don't want to sit still. They want to continue to find more ways to get more eyeballs on everything.
My goodness, folks, the Mean Gene Show is brought to you by Presidential Limousine. When you are in Las Vegas, make sure you do it in style. Call them at 702-438-5466, or you can text them 702-410-6057. Show is also brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. And we just mentioned the word playoffs, so I don't know of any better place to spend your playoffs than at the Superbook, the Sportsbook, Superbook over there at the Westgate Las Vegas. They have plenty of action going on over there. The games, you can watch any game you want to watch on multiple screens, and it's just the place to be during the playoffs. And get there early, get your seat, because I can guarantee you every weekend the place is going to be packed all the way up to Super Bowl 56. So let's go ahead and continue to count down here, and we'll just say again for the record here, the two games that are played on Saturday, and that's the Chiefs and Broncos. Me and Dustin both like the Chiefs. And the Cowboys versus Eagles, we took the Eagles. Am I right, Dustin?
That's right. Yeah, we got both of those locked in for Saturday.
All right, so we got those out the way. All right, let's start with the Washington football team versus the New York Giants. Neither one of these teams will make the postseason, but they are both in the NFC East. And I'm just going to go with the Giants. I don't know what direction the Giants are going in from a management standpoint, and I can't not wait until what they call Black Monday in the NFL, where coaches will change zip codes.
Yeah, I have no idea why I'm doing this, but I'm taking the Giants. I think it's one of these games where you flip a coin here at the end of the year. They're both out of it. You see, you take Giants are at home, and Joe Judge is out there preaching up that they're building something, even though they haven't gotten the results. So if he wants to at least continue to keep that job, like you said, he needs to at least show something. So I'll have them getting a win to end the season.
Yeah, he's going to have to do something, man. I tell you, it's and if we got a little time left in the show, we probably have to make our and I hate to call it predictions on who's going to get fired, but some of this stuff ain't really predictions. Some of it is really factual, and we'll talk about that at the end here. The Seattle Seahawks versus the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals, much needed win on the road at Dallas. I can't believe the stat line when it comes to Kyler Murray and the fact that he is undefeated when he comes to Texas Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's where they should play all their home games, because they haven't really been a good home team in Arizona this year. So, that was a huge win for them to get that win in Dallas, and it keeps their hopes alive for a division title. Something in my head, Gene, is telling me to take the Seahawks, because Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, who knows if they're going to be together. One may be gone, one may stay, and maybe they try to go out with a win together. But then I go back to saying there's so much on the line for Arizona to have a chance to win the division. So I will take Arizona to get a win, but I think that will be a close game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Arizona because the close game last week in Dallas. They were on that little skid there for a while, and I just think it's important for them, especially knowing how they struggled in the month of December. They need to get this win. So I like the Arizona Cardinals too. The next game we have is the New Orleans Saints 8-8 at the Atlanta Falcons 7-9. Falcons they lose to Buffalo last week 29-15, and the Saints they win over the Panthers last week 18-10. Who you like, Dustin?
I'll tell you what, Gene. I had to look up these scenarios to make sure all these teams are alive, and the Saints are more alive than I thought they were. They're 8-8. If they win, all they need is a win against the Falcons, and they need a 49ers loss to the Rams, and they're in. And that can happen with that game with the Rams playing for the division title. So I'm gonna take the Saints. I think they got a lot to play for. This could be Matt Ryan's last game with the Falcons, so he'll be looking to go out in style. But I just, Atlanta's got a lot going on now. There's talks that Calvin Ridley wants a fresh start somewhere else, so they may lose him. So they've got a lot of decisions to make in the offseason. So the way that Saints defense is playing, I think they can come in and get enough stops to get them a win and keep those playoff hopes alive.
Well, you just made me change my pick here. I know you couldn't hear me typing, but I had Falcons, and I just didn't look at that stat there because I didn't know that with this win on Sunday, they will clinch a playoff berth, and all they need is a win plus a 49ers loss, which could happen, like you just said. So, yeah, this is definitely a game to keep an eye on, and what a remarkable feat it would be if that played out that way, knowing what everything that has happened with the Saints this year.
Yeah, you have to give them some credit as much as they're a division rival down where I'm at here in the NFC South. Not a huge fan of Sean Payton. I know he's an offensive genius, but you'd have to give him credit going through, 3-4 quarterbacks, all these injuries, COVID stuff, his team to where they could still compete for a playoff spot and have a chance to get in. You'd have to give him a lot of credit for what he's done.
All right, the next game we have is the New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. And let's see. Well, I think let's go up here. Look at the Bills. The Bills they will clinch the AFC East with the AFC East division title with the win, and of course or a New England loss there. So I guess that's the only thing riding on this, and I think that's going to mean a lot to them, especially when they didn't see New England coming this year after them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at home, if you're a Bills fan, obviously you would probably earlier in the year you would have expected to already have it locked up.
Oh, heck yeah.
But at home, that's all you can ask for is to be at home the last week of the year with a chance to clinch a division. So I don't see how they don't take care of business in this game. And Josh Allen has really started to play better these last few weeks. So they clinch the division, get a win over the Jets.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Now, and here's a game that is going to decide the Saints' future playoff hope. That is the San Francisco 49ers at the Los Angeles Rams. And, man, I can tell you right now, I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to do this when the show started, Gene, and this is how this is going to play out. But I have the Rams winning to clinch a division, which I did have because, I've been on the Rams as a Super Bowl team. But I did not realize that with all this playing out that I have the Saints winning and I have the 49ers losing, which is going to give the Saints that wild card spot, and it's going to knock the 49ers out. And so that's what's happening. I'm taking the Rams to win the division with it being at home. They don't want to give up that division to Arizona. So I've got them getting a win, and that's going to, if my picks go right, that's going to knock 49ers out. And that might make a lot of teams happy because even though the 49ers have been up and down, I know a lot of teams don't want to see that defense in the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see and see what happens in the offseason with Jimmy G and things like that for the 49ers. But, man, I've got a heartbreaking weekend for the 49ers. I've got them losing that last game and missing the playoffs.
I tell you what, and last week Trey Lance played so well, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that win over the Texans, who, anytime any defense goes up against a rookie quarterback, man, it's like, licking your chops there. And you hate to see a good team not make it because down the stretch they have played well. But I know the Rams, the Rams are a lucky team there, especially, man, I don't know. They're so fortunate they got that win over Baltimore, and that was a hell of a game. But I am worried about Matthew Stafford and these picks all of a sudden, Dustin.
and Super Bowl for the NFC all along. But if you made me make a decision to start the playoffs of who I was going to take to Super Bowl, it would not be the Rams. And I'd hate to jump off my pick and be a bandwagon guy like that, but I just haven't seen enough from them and enough from Stafford to show that they can be consistent enough against some of these offenses that they're going to be going against in this playoff. And they already played the Packers earlier in the year in Lambeau, and it didn't go well. And just the way that offense is, I don't think they have enough to beat a team like the Packers or even another high-scoring team like, say the Cowboys or somebody like that. So if they really want to lock in and make that run that everybody's expecting them to make, because obviously you don't make a trade for Stafford
Right.
and bring him in without having really Super Bowl expectations, because you already have been a playoff team. So they need to find something, hopefully this game, to clinch a division. Maybe they can get some momentum here at home, and it'll carry into the playoffs and they can make a run.
And I will say that 12-4 is not a bad record. I mean,
it's not.
So
but that just shows you how high the expectations are.
Exactly.
When it comes to the Rams.
Exactly. Now, 49ers have won the past 5 against. When I look at these streaks here, which is kind of interesting. When
it's a big game. The 49ers defense is. This is one of these games I talked about Carson Wentz having pressure. There's not as much pressure because the Rams are already in the playoffs. But again, when you trade for a guy like Stafford and you already have an established team, they're expecting you to be a franchise guy and take them to that next level. And so that's why I think it's on him to really go out and show. And let's not forget. I know it's Detroit, Gene, but Stafford has not won a playoff game in his career. So he is going to be one of the guys that has the most pressure on him when it comes to these playoffs.
I totally agree with you. All right, the next game we have is the New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. It just seems like every year the Dolphins find a way to either eliminate or do something. You remember one year they knocked New England out of the number 1 seed? There's always something that goes on in Miami when these two teams play the last game of the season, and it seems like it's always in Miami. I got the Dolphins winning.
You basically just summed it up perfectly. You read my mind. For some reason, that is the one place where Bill Belichick goes and plays, and no matter the records, the Dolphins always seem to play them really well in Miami. And I think it continues. I think it continues this week. I think, especially with the Bills, and even if maybe the Bills get up really big on the Jets, and Belichick sees that, hey, there's no way they can win the division. You never know what's going to happen mid-game. But even so, I think the Dolphins have played some good football, and I think they're going to upset the Patriots here in this last game.
Because you just said something there that the Buffalo game would have already been played. Am I correct, or are they on at the same time?
That is correct. Let me see here.
No, they're on at the same time.
They're on at the same time.
Okay.
They do that for competitive, make sure they're still competitive in both games. So they will be at the same time. So I can guarantee there will probably be some scoreboard watching there, because
I'm sure.
Don't you think if the Bills get up by 20 points on the Jets and that game's out of reach, that the Bill's going to say, hey, I need to maybe take care of my guys because there's nothing to play for.
Right. Yeah, when you get to that certain point in the game. So that's definitely a game to keep an eye on, folks. If you're a Bills and Patriots fan there, you're looking at that AFC East, you want to know who's going to be, because it matters a lot. It's going to matter a whole lot there. So anyway, I got the Dolphins winning this game. The next game we have is the Carolina Panthers 5-11 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who no longer have Antonio Brown on their team.
Yeah, this is one where I know I'm supposed to be the Panthers expert, Gene, but I think we just need to spend these few seconds. We'll move the Panthers to the side. Their season's done. They've got a lot of work to do in the offseason. This is about the Tampa Bay Bucs and what's going to happen in these playoffs, Gene, because I know how much everybody believes in time and always to make it. But a lot is being stacked against him now with, Godwin being out.
Right.
That's still hurt. If he comes back, he may be banged up, and now you lose the guy who was really supposed to step up in Godwin's absence, and Antonio Brown. I just think this might be a recipe to where they're not going to repeat now with all these things happening. I think they win this game. I don't know. I'm not sure how much the starters will play, but I think they win. Obviously against the Panthers team that's not good. But going into the playoffs, I want to get your thoughts of where you see this team heading, because right now I think there's a lot up in the air for them in these playoffs.
Well, you summed it up perfectly. For all of these things to be happening this late in the season, they got a 12-4 record. That's fine, But with all those injuries happening this late in the season, some of these guys you're not going to get back, and then you lose that one deep threat. The one weapon that Brady has had in his back pocket there, and man, it's just a different team now. I know mentally, Brady can overlook this stuff and get that team ready. But man, there's just a whole lot of check marks on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. And looking at the NFC, I don't know. I don't see a deep run.
I don't see a deep run either. I think they could be in trouble in that first game. And just to wrap up this game, just give me your quick thoughts. I know it's a crazy situation, but what were your thoughts when you saw all that happen with Antonio Brown over the weekend?
Well, I finally got a chance to see a big piece of the footage, and it was just it's just crazy. I mean, this guy. Now, I tend to think, I always want to think, okay, maybe this guy needs some help mentally. Maybe there's something there because this is not the first. I couldn't think of what could make a successful and let's say rich, because he's got money, and a Super Bowl champion. What could make a normal person just act that way? I mean, you got everything you want. And it just seems like, I don't know. And I think Bruce Arians did the right thing. I think the organization did the right thing. And no, I don't think he should get another chance to play.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if he gets that chance. I always, when something like this happens, I tend to think they won't. But then you go back and look at the NFL, and as long as you still got some talent, somehow, even though maybe you shouldn't get that chance, somebody finds a way to give you another chance. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him back on another team. But yes, like you said, it's such a tricky line to talk about, because if he does have problems, you obviously don't want to joke about it. You don't want to talk bad about the guy. You want him to get the help that's needed. But at the same time, Gene, if you're leaving games like that, and the very next night you're sitting courtside in the NBA game and doing things like that,
you don't care.
Then you don't care. So I mean, it's a fine line. I don't want to be those guys. If it's mental health, I don't want to take anything away from that, because definitely I want people to get health and be healthy, and I know how much they put their bodies on the line when it comes to football. But at the same time, you got to take some ownership for your actions.
You do,
and how you're acting. And so who knows how to? And this is not the first time. That's the benefit of the doubt, because it's not the first time. So we'll see how that plays out. But I hope he gets well. Like I said, it's not going to surprise me to see a team come calling his name next year, because when he's out there, he is still one of the most talented guys when it comes to a receiver.
Yeah, he is. And if I'm an NFL team out there, you're listening to this show, I would not bring him on board without some sort of mental evaluation. I just couldn't take the chance. I couldn't risk it.
I agree with that. And on top of that, you think about it, Tom Brady. Think about what Tom Brady did to put his neck on the line for this guy, to give him a chance at the Patriots, to give him a chance with the Bucs. And so if Tom Brady can't get through to him, then, like you said, if before you come on board, you got to have a lot of stipulations in place to make sure everything checks out.
Big time there. So, yeah. And in this game here, did we make a pick? I think I'm going to go with the Buccaneers.
I had the Buccaneers.
Yeah, they still need to shake off last week. And even though they struggled, man, they struggled with the Jets. You cannot, and that showed more than anything how this team is not the same team going in and as they try to defend their titles. So I think they beat the Panthers, but I think that playoff put a question mark by it. Okay, the last game here, and that's the Chargers versus the Raiders. Raiders on a 3-game win streak there. So much has happened to the Raiders organization this year. So much. I can't remember the last time one team has just been the news story the whole entire season, all the way up until the untimely death of John Madden there. But what a big win for the Raiders last week. They came out there and they did exactly what I thought they would do, and they got a win over a damn good Indianapolis Colts team.
Yeah, that surprised me. Actually, I had the Colts win that game, and I knew it would be close, but I had them getting a close win. So that was a huge win by the Raiders. And like you said, you can't say enough, what this interim staff has done, what these players have done. We talked about the Ravens going through a ton of stuff with injuries, but this team, as far as on the field and off the field stuff, has probably went through the most in the league. And to continue to have a chance, all you have to do is your fate's in your own hands at home.
All you can do is win.
It's pretty remarkable. And with that being said, going into the year, the Chargers were a team that I was very high on and thought with Herbert could really really make an impact and even make a deep playoff run. But their inconsistency as well has really just thrown me off. And we talked about it with that Texans game a couple weeks ago. That was a game that really they wouldn't be in a situation if they just took care of business against the Texans. So with that being said, the Raiders, I think, are going to pull off the improbable. And I have them. Come on, Vegas is going to be ridiculous. Prime time game on a Sunday night with the playoffs on the line. I've got Derek Carr getting it done. And this is going to go a long way for Derek Carr and his legacy as a quarterback to lead a team like this to the playoffs, and I got them getting it done.
And let me tell you, and don't think that Raider Nation and those fans they have not forgot about being eliminated by the Miami Dolphins. We talk about the Dolphins. The Dolphins are some bad spoilers. They can remember they had playoff hopes last year, and the Dolphins kind of took that away. But here they get another chance at home, last game of the season, and I think they take care of business there. On Sunday night. So, and then all they have to do is just win. They don't have a crazy scenario like some of these other teams. All they got to do is win. So, Dustin, with about, let's see, we got a little bit less than 2 minutes. Black Monday, which is that infamous term that the NFL calls, this is the first Monday after the regular season. Is there just one coach that stands out there that you think that is going to make that list on Monday?
The one that's obvious, I think, with everybody is going to be Nagy in Chicago. We definitely see him on the way out. It definitely can't do any more than he's done, and they know they need a different sense of direction. So I definitely see him being the top of the list of one of the first guys that's going to be out the door.
And I tell you what, and I because you convinced me to remove Harbaugh from the list based on the way things have turned out this year. With John and his team. So, but I got to go back to the Giants then. I guess I got to go back to New York and say that who's the coach there, Judge?
Joe Judge.
But
definitely up in the air.
I hate to see it happen because, man, it has because they have had so much turnover. But, man, it's going to happen. They got to get it right. And the reason why coaches, organizations make these changes is because they want to get it right. And I think his name. I agree with you on Nagy. I think Judge and Nagy would probably be the top of the list there.
Yeah, those will be the top of the list. I would even throw a Fangio out there in Denver as another guy who may end up having to be getting left out there, and he ends up becoming a defensive coordinator again. Those are the three. I'm looking through the whole list now, and those are the three that automatically stand out. The rest, it seems like. You're probably going to have a surprise here or there, but the rest seem like they're pretty much in place. Some young coaches, some veteran coaches. The one that I still say I want to keep an eye on, this is not really a Black Monday situation, but I'm very intrigued to what's going to happen in Seattle because I really know that it sounds like from all things that it's pointing to a divorce, whether that's Russell Wilson leaving or whether that's Pete Carroll leaving. But I think only one of them, if not both of them aren't going to be there next year. So it's going to be curious to see how that plays out.
All right, folks, that's a wrap for Week 18 and the final regular season of NFL games. Enjoy the games on Saturday and Sunday. Next week, we'll be back for the NFL playoffs here on the MeanGene Show, KDWN 720 AM, 101.5 FM here in Las Vegas.